Oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, this thing died, I gotta go get a new one. Won't charge.
So it's.
Everyone's ready? Yeah. Okay, well, why don't we go ahead and get started? Just as a reminder to those here, the makeup of this committee has changed since the last time the committee had met. So the two board members that are assigned to this committee are different than were here the last time the committee had met, which is why we've listed on the very first item to select a chairperson and vice chairperson to serve out the remainder of the year. There might not be much more in service after today, but anyways, that's why it's on the. So the bylaws, the board's bylaws that deal with the committees state that a board member shall serve as, one of the assigned board members shall serve as the chair and vice chair. So it's really up to the two of you to sort that out.
Okay, so we do that. You the chair?
I'll defer to you if you would like.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Sure.
Well, no, actually, if
Okay,
you would like,
All right.
serve as the, one more meeting.
okay, all right,
So
I'll do.
You're on a roll.
Okay, I'll do it, no problem. And then you'll be the vice chair.
Correct.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everyone, appreciate it. Next agenda item is the Everest Park Improvement Plan Update, and I believe that's Lori.
Yeah, thank you. So as of 7 PM last night, we have just received back the latest plan sets, which Carrie's gonna bring up for us to just briefly take a look at. I already have some comments on things that they may not have completely understood us on, and the back and forth. So they're trying to address this second plan check through the county of San Luis Obispo, county comments, which included quite a bit regarding stormwater, which wasn't originally considered to be a possible issue, but with our knock-on effects of widening the driveway, which let me zoom down a little bit. So if you're familiar with Everest Park, this is Gibson here. This is the driveway down, parking lot, and then our park. So this is kind of a overview. I'll zoom in here. So with the knock-on effects of the widening of the driveway and the ADA or accessible pathway, and the redoing this accessible area to meet the latest standards, we kind of triggered some stormwater requirements that we didn't think at the very beginning would be required. So they've offered this option, which unfortunately they didn't kind of confirm this option before they've proposed it in the plans of what's called a modular wetland system in this area right here. So that was something, sorry,
Real quick, by they, you just want for.
the consultants.
Our
Yeah, the
consultants,
consultants,
okay. Alright, just want to confirm.
apologize, yeah, so
That
that
wasn't-
we have two consultants involved, we have a landscape architect, and kind of the ones managing the project, then we have our civil engineer, BKF. So BKF is the ones that are dealing with these stormwater questions that we're trying to answer. So when we talk about stormwater, we kind of have two different areas, right? We have our flood control, which is our basins, so where all the water goes, and we have big storms, but we also have what's called the post-construction requirements, which deal with like water quality. And so all of these improvements that kind of happened over this project's life has led us to doing something, we need to do something for water quality. So this modular wetland is kind of a new thing. They haven't reached out to me to confirm we are on board with this. So we need to talk amongst staff, and if you guys have any thoughts. I actually printed out the detail, but it's not very large. So if you have readers, I'll also pull it up here.
Are these
Um,
copies?
Yeah, these look better printed 11 by 17, and we can also forward the whole plan set.
So with the triggering of the storm water control, because I don't know if we've met, I'm a contractor and we actually
Yeah.
help perform civil, and this is a big part of what we do. And so I guess my question, the county's gonna require what they're gonna require. Was it because you created so much more impervious surfaces that was the concern? Okay, I just wanted to see what would.
Yeah, so there was a widening that needed to happen to accommodate for this right here, this walkway. And then because we actually, currently the accessible parking lots, if you go out there, they're not exactly meeting the most recent cross slope. We've done a little bit of like making it work with some slopes and some drainage. So they actually have to change the grades of these particular parking areas. And so that triggers, that's considered new.
Yeah.
Impervious area, even though it's already paved.
So I had just a simple question, and maybe it's, I just don't know anything about it. My understanding is that we're increasing impervious areas. But that is all being diverted into a basin. And so we're not taking any additional stormwater off of the property. It's still being retained. So I don't understand, unless we don't have enough area to retain that water, why is there an issue? I don't
So they
understand.
actually agree with us on that for the flood control and storage portion.
Okay.
So for the actual having capacity to handle the new water coming off these surfaces, they're fine. It's the water quality thing. So we're not actually adding any basins, we're adding something to treat the new pervious surfaces.
So I've done something similar, not, this one looks like it's full of actually like plant material, which is interesting, but I've done these type of basins to like catch sediment and silt, and then you gotta back truck them every so often or whatever.
Yeah, you have to back truck them at least once a year.
So you have storm drainage, and this is actually, they're not exactly cheap endeavors, but this isn't a bad idea. So from your understanding, you're not adding any drain pipe, you're not adding drain inlets, well, you might be adding a couple and you're tying them into the existing system. Where in line, is this going in the main inlet into the basins, like the detention basins? Is that where this is gonna go? So it's gonna.
So after it's filtered, it will continue on through the existing storm drainage pipe, through the park and down it to discharge into the basins, which are at the north of the park. So if we go,
Yeah, okay. You
Uh,
capture all the water, it goes through this and then it runs off.
yeah, so it's basically kind of putting something in line into our existing storm drain system. So it's capturing all the water here at this low point where I'm pointing here in the DI. And this is the structure right next to it.
Yeah.
And so what I gathered, I was still trying to sort out how this is all gonna work, is that they're removing the curb here. And so that becomes a flush curb and all the water just flows over the flush curb into this wetland. And then it goes through the treatment process and then there's a storm drain. It's very light, but there's the storm drain line.
So
It
it
would
can come.
continue that way and then that storm drain then goes this way and out towards our basins. So it's an inline solution to fit, it's like a retrofit basically, because we already have this existing parking lot. We can't really rip it up. So they're trying to put something in a low point to kind of retrofit something to meet these more recent requirements for this water quality bit.
Probably to answer your question is that when this was originally designed, the water quality requirements were X and you guys met them, but the state of California loves to change things and make them more stringent. And then
They changed
now what they've done is they've created a wall. So once you touch it and you now have to add to it, which makes sense. Did they provide any alternates to this? Did they provide the cost of the unit itself?
They have not, and so that's one of my first questions is I want to have a meeting with them in the next couple of days. Let's talk about what's the cost of this. And then if they have any info, 'cause it's a Contech engineered solutions, kind of prepackaged unit, so we can talk to them as well directly and say, okay, what are the ongoing costs of this? And so we can bring that to our staff and essentially we go out to the park and clean out that inlet anyway every year. We might need a vac truck or a vac trailer. We don't already do that with that particular inlet.
Yeah.
So if we're already kind of doing it, it probably wouldn't be that much more in terms of maintenance. It's just if there's plants in there, so we have to babysit those. We can't let folks trample all over them or rip them out, or so we do have to maintain the plants within that. It's essentially a treatment structure.
Just two quick questions. One is, doesn't the water already go across the grass? And it's
Well,
essentially
yeah.
filtered already in grass?
Well,
So
they did
are we
agree to
creating a
that, yeah.
solution that doesn't need a solution? I don't understand.
So
But-
they're saying that we don't have to treat the water that would flow across the fields and through the playground area. So I did speak directly with Public Works about that. I'm like, it's coming off of fields.
Yeah.
And then we're adding maybe a pathway, but that's still sometimes going across the field before it gets into the inlet. So they said, okay, yeah, we agree to that. So those areas in the park, so this is, the parking lot is a little bit higher, then we step down into the park, so all that area in the low area, we won't have to treat, it's just this parking lot that they're concerned about. And we originally talked about doing some sort of pervious pavements. But for some reason, they changed direction here and are proposing this, so I need to get together with them. There's a couple other things, for some reason, the landscape architects have reviewed the concrete pathway ad alternative that we wanted to have as an option. The plans themselves show, go back up, show a DG option for a good portion of the path, just because we're concerned about costs now at this point. We're 2.5 years in. The cost of concrete has gone through the roof. There's rebar involved. So our suggestion was to have concrete for this pathway here. You can see the path of travel line here. That's what this dotted line is. And so we come down a ramp and we're going towards the playground here in the north. And then that continues to the playground. And we have a path up kind of behind the playground because it's up on a hill. So, and then from that point on, what the plans are showing currently is a DG pathway with some sort of edging. So it could be a steel edging, I think that's the default, I can go to the detail, or there's a kind of step up from that, which would be a mow curb, which would be a concrete with rebar, which is obviously still expensive with the concrete. And then all the way up to having an adult for the full concrete path. So the grading and all that has been done in a way where we could choose any of those options. And what an ad alternative does is when we go up to bid, they show it as an additional item and we could choose to add it or not based on the total of the bid. And so what we're showing now, if we continue around the park, although that little piece got cut off, but the majority of it would be DG with some sort of edging. There's some retaining walls on this side to hold back that small slope that's on that edge. Those retaining walls were originally going to be a CMU with a quite substantial footing, and now they're changed to an airwall block product, which is much cheaper to install, especially. It might not be cheaper necessarily for materials, but the installation and the labor should be cheaper. So all that to say, we want to build in these options as the district to decide what we can add on to this project based on what we can afford with the budget that's available. Mel, did you want to speak to our budget right now? Because I know we have a little over $1 million
Yeah.
in
Yes.
for construction and then an additional potential for 345, was it?
347, I believe. So remember, this was part of the Prop 68 per capita funds. We participated in our side of that. And then we also adopted the funds that were originally assigned to the city of Pismo Beach. So it basically doubled it. It also, thankfully, adding in the city of Pismo Beach's per capita funds, extended the length of the project period. So it added some extra time. Originally, we would have needed to be done by next year, I believe. So that kind of gave us a little extra grace period, which is really nice.
How long do we have now?
I wanna say 28, 27, 28, somewhere around there. Yeah.
What was the
Fingers
deadline?
crossed. I believe it's, I need to double check. It's either 27 or 28, that it needs to be completed.
What was the total dollar
And
amount?
those can be extended. Three,
It was in our, we came to the board with an update
Yeah.
on this,
Roughly.
just a
was
couple
about
weeks
340.
back. So,
$140,000. So, and it's matching, and we already had, I think, 1.1 assigned
Yeah,
to
we
the
are
project.
about,
So,
we've been using funds to pay for the engineering work out of the capital fund.
Sure.
We have roughly, between the capital fund and the grant funds, roughly $1.35 million today.
Okay,
And the capital fund should continue to grow until such time as we make this more major expenditure, so, probably safely, what, $4 million or something.
yeah, I just know these, cause I looked it up, so another option, and I don't know if it applies to this one, cause it doesn't have a kind of a top inlet, it's called a dual vortex separator, we
Yeah.
used one. There's all these different biofiltration systems, and I'd be wondering if some sort of like bioswell wouldn't be a possibility there where you hydroseed or something, cause these are, guessing $30,000 or.
yeah, I'm really curious about the cost. So that was the ultimate first question I had when I looked at plans. And secondly, into future, is it something we want to take on? Or ask that question?
Yeah, that's my question. It's the same thing. Bioswale seems to be a right alternative, potential alternative that would be less expensive. I don't know if you've seen on Florence, there's a good example. We did this in the county many years ago. Cheryl Lenhart did it. And they grow very well and they don't use any water, very little. So there's options that are less expensive.
Yeah, the one thing I will say, because I have background in this, is that we don't have no bioswale
I don't think,
there. It's space constrained.
Really.
And just the grades of how they are now, because
It's a big drop off behind the
Yeah,
parking
we-
lot on all.
we look at, there's a slope consideration. We could try to put it in here. But that's probably a 3-to-1 at least, maybe a 2-to-1 slope. What do you know?
I think it's
It's
2 to
pretty
1.
sloped and
2.5.
for
It's
bioswales,
pretty-
you're supposed to have kind of it's supposed to go slowly and infiltrate into it, so you don't want it flying down the hill. It doesn't create the water filtration that they want, so.
And then right in that location
So-
there is even steeper slope.
Yeah.
Coming off
Yeah.
between there and the current snack bar location.
And if we do have to create one, like if we piped it over, like over here, then we're kind of taking up the area we wanted for a path and usable space, so. Depending on how long or how wide this thing would have to be, I think we should have a conversation about the different options. The problem is that we're really anxious to get this submitted and going, but at the same time, they haven't been super communicative about like, hey, here's these 3 things we've looked into, let's go through them, and then you tell us the one you like best. So the challenge with our contract is that we are contracted with the landscape architect who contracted the engineer who's they're speaking through the architect instead of us being able to directly speak to the engineer, so.
And I can speak to civil engineers right now, because I'm doing a design build project, they're all gonna be that way. That's just the way it's.
Yeah, so it's more of like they submit something and then we give them feedback, so. Mel, I was hoping to, in the next day or 2, let's nail them down and try to get it. So, the last thing that we were kind of pointing out in the last submittal, and I'm seeing that it's still remaining in this, is that they were proposing quite a dramatic, removal and replacement of irrigation inside the fields. So that's still remaining in this plan set. So we had a conversation with them saying, that's all sounds amazing, but we need to phase that when we do the rehabilitation of the actual fields, because we're just gonna rip up the fields and we're gonna need them in a short period of time, and so they're just gonna look like patchwork. And so we were saying, we wanna shift that to a phase 2. And so for some reason, that didn't get folded into this update. So there's a couple things we need to address with them before we go back to the county. If you guys have any other input about, some water quality, options we could look at, or maintenance and operations side stuff that would be concerning, feel free to reach out to me. Shoot me an email and I will communicate that to them. Otherwise, just kind of going through it, and they're gonna have some supplemental information coming through shortly, including the stormwater control plan document that the county requires.
Lori, I'm sorry, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is there any harm in, getting the permit for that irrigation work and then not performing it? Since we'll have the plans and it is part of a phase 2 and we would have,
Well, we
potential
would have to
permitting
complete
available,
it
we'd have
all
to go
get,
back to
like,
permitting.
for the project to be complete, right?
Okay,
So we'd have to complete everything on the approved plans.
You could
but
do
the
it
whole
as
thing
another-
on add alt,
Unless we did add all, then we just didn't.
make the whole thing add alt and
But then later on, when we do
theoretically.
rehab, there's kind of have to be looking at, we're gonna have to look at
Have to
it
do it
fresh, right?
Right, okay.
So. yeah,
Unnecessary
I mean,
doubled up of work.
Well, if you're doing work on the field down the road, is it phase 2 as part of this project, or would it be a separate project?
Oh, no, it's another.
So if you're gonna be doing that work
There's
anyway.
kind of a master plan for Evers Park, that was done here, Mel was.
20, I think it started in 2019.
So that information's actually still on our website, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
So it's still on our website, so if you download that, there's kind of multiple things that we did wanna do. But we realized cost-wise, we wouldn't be able to attack it all at the same time, and also the need to be able to use the fields, for, for especially soccer.
Yeah.
So having them available and doing that work and then having them be ready was gonna be a challenge, and so there was a decision at some point to phase it, right?
Yeah, actually irrigation, work was just that the field the field replacement was just a lower priority. It's about $800,000 or $900,000 just for that itself. And it doesn't make sense to do major irrigation work if there's a plan to actually regrade the fields anyway, because you'll have to go and adjust all of those.
100%. I wouldn't even include
Yeah,
it.
I don't think
I wouldn't
it
even do it
should
as an
be,
alt,
To be honest, because of the potential problems, and they're like, what am I installing, what am I not installing, confusion out in the field, and then they end up doing either too much or too little, so just having a plan that's very clear what they need to do, scope,
Yeah, yeah, I'd be curious to go actually put when I got some time, I'll go, these plans are available online, or I think I have them somewhere. I believe I got them, but I wouldn't mind going over there and taking a look and just brainstorming. I have civil engineers working for me right now, maybe brainstorming with them a couple alternates that I could present to you guys, just as because this might be a viable, cost-effective solution. It's from an installation standpoint, it's
dig a hole, but.
dig a hole, compact it, put some rock on the bottom, and you're tying stuff into it. It's really not. It's just a matter of cost of getting it, which, maybe it's cost effective. It might be the best alternative for what you have going on. But I'll just on my own time here over the next couple weeks, I'll
Yeah,
just,
and I think it's like things that are around here that people know how to, service. Like,
Yeah.
that's been a big problem with underground chambers in this region, is that most of the people that service underground chambers are not in this county. They're either in San Jose, Northern California, or down south, and so you have to like call somebody up to do these special inspections and whatnot that sometimes the water board requires. Well, this one seems like it's pretty accessible. You just pop the manholes and can see what's going on. But, talking to contact possibly to see, okay, who do you have available in case this thing goes wrong and we need some assistance would probably be good. But then Vortex, I would imagine the Vortex systems and those other kind of systems that you might be familiar with probably cost about the same.
Yeah,
It's just adding plants, something like that.
it's a big concrete box, right, with some chambers in it. I mean, I think that it's probably, unless they want stupid money for it, I think it's a good of approach. I'd just be curious if there's anywhere on that site, you guys know it better than me, that you could route stuff for a swale, but it sounds like that's, you don't have the room and it's a requirement. It sounds like you don't have much of a choice and,
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, that I think you would have to go up this side. Probably send, because the pipe stormwater pipe is going this direction. So we'd want to be somewhere near that pipe to naturally flow back to the pipe. Then you're just spending money on pipe if you have to.
Great. Well,
So yeah, this irrigation plan, I just want to mention that they show the removal of a bunch of heads within, and these are the new locations they're proposing, and as you can see, they're all through the fields. So we would have quite a disruption to the fields if we went forward with this plan at this case.
thank you very much. Any other questions on the?
Just one comment I wanted to share. As you know, right now, the park, and I believe that same screen up, that this walkway that's shown here does not exist, right? But we do have soccer games and softball games that are, pretty distant from the parking lot. And presently, our solution is on certain days. And for soccer, that means just Saturday game days and just periodically for softball game days, not as a daily service. We have a golf cart that we make available as a courtesy to help transport grandparents or people who have mobility challenges to these more remote locations, because there is no obvious path of travel. You kind of have to go across the field to get there. That has been in existence for like 6 years-ish, something like that golf cart solution. And it's worked well. We did get a complaint from this past weekend because we didn't have a driver of the golf cart available. And so we weren't able to provide this courtesy that now we have, looking for more improved ADA solutions. So just keep that in mind when we get to the issue of when this ultimately does go out to bid and you get costs back for these various sidewalk solutions or walkway solutions, that this DG pathway, that will not be considered an accessible path of travel. It will be more convenient and a better path of travel than exists today, but not necessarily ADA compliant. And so the concrete alternative, and there will be a cost to that. Just keep that in mind. It may be worth it, even if it's a big ticket item, as it will help resolve this challenge that we currently deal with in terms of getting folks from essentially the park entrance to the rear of the park to watch grandkids play or kids play.
well, you could do a split too if you wanted to. You could get ADA to the back corner in a concrete path and then the rest of it could be DG. So you do have an ADA path of travel to it.
Yeah, right now,
One side or the other.
One side.
Yeah, exactly. So
Off that.
just as a creative solution.
that's an interesting thing. Maybe that can be split. We could get at least take that concrete path, 2/3 the way down or something.
Yeah, I mean, but then again, if you're already doing that much concrete,
Yeah.
is it really gonna be that much more just to make it all concrete? I actually like walking on DG better than concrete anyway. It's kind of nicer, but I actually didn't know that about DG and ADA. I guess I never came across that.
Well,
I
they were
understand
challenging,
DG
they
is-
were challenging
That's what
out
I
of the
thought.
county and they
It
wanted.
is a solution that if they're saying they're not, they're wrong.
So they challenged it and they said we needed to go through a special approval process to get it approved. And it was basically, it had to be treated to a point where it was almost like concrete anyway. I think they wanted like special additives or something to it to make sure that it wasn't. So the county pushed back on that. So that's how these folks who work in LA, they're mostly LA consultants, proposed it as an ADA path. And they said, sorry, you have to go through this special process to get that approved.
Yeah, it says compaction, smoothness and slope. Now as far as like local requirements, of course, they want to be challenging and create a challenge for you, but at the end of the day, like if you guys have the money, this might be the cost that breaks the camel's back and you're not worried about it. But I think if you can do it, do it. I personally like DG better, but you should absolutely be able to do that. That's like the reason that you just gotta compact it, smoothness, slope, and
Yeah, well, and
For maintenance requirements.
there is the ongoing maintenance that was discussed,
Sure.
that there will have to be, additional DG brought in and, refresh. More obviously,
I like that solution. Do we have a decision to make as part of this?
No, it's just.
this is an update. at
No
this
action, just
point,
update.
yeah.
You won't have a decision to make regarding this issue of DG versus concrete until the bids come back, because the approval is designed to give us both alternatives.
So that's down the road.
Yeah, but if we wanted to do maybe like a bit more concrete, that might need to be fleshed out a little bit. Or we could have some sort of agreement.
You could accept the alternate and they
Like
get
for
credit.
the adult, maybe not full adult, we wanna do this many square feet of adult, so.
Well, thank you very much, appreciate it. The next item is senior maintenance worker update. The committee will receive an update on the status of the senior maintenance worker in parks.
Yeah, I'm happy to provide that, we have some current information to share, as you recall, we've had a maintenance worker assigned to parks for about 7 years now, and gone through several people, and when the last person who was in that role resigned, we came to initially the finance and admin committee and then the board to approve a new senior level position for parks. We were hoping to get more interest, more qualified candidates. We had to extend, so we began recruiting in June. We had to extend that recruitment to get a size enough pool of candidates that was sizable enough. We have since met with those folks, and we do have a conditional job offer that's been extended to one candidate, but they have not accepted the position, and so this will still be a challenge.
They didn't accept the position.
They haven't turned it down,
Oh,
but yeah, we have a small pool of, we struggle.
What's the pay for a senior maintenance worker for that? Just.
I believe it's $30 to $37 an hour-ish.
If that guy doesn't come through, I have a few people I have in mind that might be a good fit for that potentially, but.
So anyway, that's where we stand. Hopefully things work out and we can get that person on board. If not, look at a couple of other applicants that we've got available to us. But that's kind of where we stand right now. We still are maintaining the facilities, utilizing some part-time folks that we brought on earlier this year, and borrowing essentially a utility worker to serve as the primary parks person.
thank you. Well, okay, is that it? Any questions on that? So, my question is, do you think the salary that's
Yes.
really still at that $30? That's because the benefits, we increased the benefits of I know we obviously increased the pay, but still, I mean, what do you think, like, what range are they looking for?
Well, you don't know you don't get the people who say they can't, even actually some of our candidates said, well, I can't really, they were still in the application process, said, well, you have room to work on this pay, cause I'm not sure they would have accepted it anyway. That's what we found before, even previous to last, like, year and a half ago or so, when we last recruited for a maintenance worker, we had several candidates essentially turn the job down unless we were able to, even throughout our entire, we had through our pay range.
No, wow.
I can tell you right now in the construction industry, we can't find people, and all we do is prevailing wage work, and the bottom of the barrel guy on our job site's making $100,000 a year, a laborer. $50 an hour is the labor going rate, just to drag hoses and not be a skilled, yeah. It's 50, well, yeah, with full prevailing wage, yeah, it is. So that's where it becomes challenging, is someone can go, if they have skill sets like that, they can work for places at a higher wage rate, so.
Wow, okay. All right, well, thank you for that update. Thank you, appreciate that. Next, item is Parks and Recreation Maintenance. That now?
Yeah, it'll be a group of, it'll be primarily Mel, but we've got I think a team effort here. So. Is that it here? So we put together, actually, most of this list was put together this spring. There was a similar item on another committee's meeting that was touched upon. So this list kind of came from there. We've updated a few things since, for this committee. So we have references, for facilities that are under the sort of Parks and Recreation purview. So we're talking about the recreation center or Lens Place, the community center, the skate park, the community garden, Everest Park, German Park. I think those are the ones that we've got referenced here. And so those are the things that we would consider kind of under the Parks and Recreation sort of purview. So in the rec building or Lens Place, and again, these are just observations, maybe I'd call them maybe deferred maintenance items that are, you know, ready for some work. The one, a baseboard throughout the building, replace, repair. That's this style primarily, this
Yeah. it's just
vinyl,
plastic
baseboard.
Offset base, yeah.
It doesn't have baseboards right now, or?
Oh, no, it does.
They're
They're just coming off.
just beat up.
Yeah,
And-
I mean, it's been 20 years, 30 years since they've been.
And we don't yet have, what we wanted to, I guess, I think the goal here is to get some input from you in terms of priorities, so then we can begin to cost out some of those items and fold them into sort of next year's budget. So yeah, all the rooms have this style, like we have here, of baseboard. Interior painting, so there's multiple bathrooms in the building, the craft room is sort of in the middle of the building. Kitchen, and then the corners, I think, Mel, you described this as, these are, you know, the corners of there's a metal strip on drywall corners, and they've just been hit with
Yeah.
kids and gear and stuff over the time, and are kind of beat up, banged up, and needs.
Some of the metal is showing.
Corner guards are maybe
Simple.
some, like, you might not even need to fix it with like you could do a drywall, but just like the corner guards like you would see in like a hospital or whatever.
Like a final piece of.
It's actually like, or metal, and it just goes on an outside corner, and it's just metal that you can bang into it, and it's designed for, like, you go through a hospital, you see an outside corner, they got their gurneys and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just, those ones are a little more fancy, but I would say, if you're having that issue over years and you're gonna make the effort to fix it, I would do it. Looking at these photos here, the bathrooms, painting the bathrooms looks like, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how used those are, but I know that would be a top priority for me.
Yeah, and I actually agree that the photos are really what are telling.
Yeah, so.
You know, I went through a process a couple times, in my public works career, where I took photos of all of these locations, and they're impactful when you see them. If they came to they came to our board and saw, you know, over a period of time, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, my question to you, Jeff, is that, have we done any kind of deferred maintenance funding for, other than you know, those items that are part of our normal budget process?
So when you say funding, we
Depreciation.
depreciate the building and set money aside for improving the building. Whether or not any of these items individually would qualify, it's to utilize those funds. It probably depends on the package of improvements that are completed. In other words, if we repaint the entire building, then yes, I'd say, you know, that's intended to extend the life of the building. But, you know, minor repairs are not funded through asset replacement.
Would you hire someone to do this as a contractor, or do you have people to perform this work?
It's gonna depend on what the scope of the work is.
Okay.
Yeah, we've done, like, for example, the last time the exterior of these buildings were repainted, our crews did that work. We repainted this building, the fire station, this building, the community center, and Lens Place all in one summer, about 10 years ago, with our own crew. But some of the repairs will be more extensive, as you'll be able to see. So there were some interior pictures. Not right, okay, yeah, I didn't think we had those of the rec, of these specific examples. But the exterior of the building, we've got good photos of. So like, this is an example, this is the little awning in the front of on the Main Street side of that building, where obviously there's some paint that's necessary.
Looks like some power washing would take care of the big
Some of this,
chunk of that
yeah, just
there.
some maintenance. And then, yeah, these actually, you see these all over Main Street, these little, they get beat up with, yeah, people hitting them with stuff.
I would say from a priority, just looking at the photos, painting the inside of the bathrooms would be my numero uno priority. The exteriors are, they could use a freshen up, especially like the doors, but the rest of it, I mean, not perfect, but I think that, you put it in order of operations, it obviously all needs to be painted, but I do the interior of the bathrooms first. The exteriors, I would just power wash, and then the doors, I would go interiors, doors, and then the exteriors would probably be my order. I don't have any photos of the inside of the rec building. So that one I can't really speak to, but as far as the other ones are concerned with them, I would say the inside of the bathrooms would be my first.
Are you considering some kind of a package of potential funding for?
Yes, we would like your input so that we can assemble, like, cost out the various improvements that would be the sort of year one maintenance items, then we could come forward with, items that are, you know, that have, we have some sort of budget level cost estimates for completing and then include in next year's budget.
So for that building, the rec building, what's the condition of the roof? And, do we have any leaks or anything?
We haven't had any leaks in a while. We did have so remember that building was amended, like they added on to it?
Yes.
Years ago. So the add-on, actually, there was an issue with a leak, and it was mostly because a ball had gotten kicked on the roof and it covered a drain pipe.
Oh,
And so water just accumulated and it got too heavy, and so it leaked into the back room. But that was repaired and we've made arrangements so that won't happen again. We've made the right kind of repairs, put gate over, or grate over the thing, and the guys come in, the utility crew will come in and deal with the drain pipe as well. Before the rains come every year, so it's not clogged up with other debris.
I don't know if we have an assessment of the roof, like,
But, and so that part was fixed ages ago and it did pretty well. The rest of the building, there's no noticeable leaks, but it hasn't been fully assessed. So, yeah.
and then, I mean, also, I mean, while we're doing this, based on your needs, I mean, do you think the floor plan is okay for what your needs are? Or do you see that you need some changes, you know, making some, you know, maybe taking walls down or something like that to make your, you know, for your needs, you know, for
No,
the staff
the floor
or-
plan itself works
The
really well.
floor plan is fine. So you have enough, okay, you have enough lockers for the kids to, you know, if
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, we've got big cubbies for them to use.
Yeah, so
and,
that's enough.
we have a storage room, room that is used for storage, used to be Tina's office.
Okay,
But we can keep a lot of equipment on site. We've got a private room for like where I can have meetings and things if I need to have like one-on-one.
okay, so you have that.
So the layout of the building itself is actually, it works really well.
Okay, alright,
So,
alright, okay, thank you.
Well, I would recommend that we do move forward with something, a package to go to the board. But really look at what are the most impactful things. Obviously, the things that are gonna cause us cost in the future. Make sure our roofs are sealed in, and make sure that there's no dry rot. I mean,
That's
you
what
you
I'm
guys
saying.
know more than I know what to get. Just prioritize what are those items that are gonna be the most impactful for staff, and then any damage interior, then damage out exterior. I mean, so I think some kind of you lay out what is, what you think is the most logical cost.
on a kind of a per building basis.
Yeah, I
Here's another example of just, this isn't, it would be it's obviously not low cost to repair it, but this is the kind of thing that we've got. It's just kind of not the right design where you have this playground stuff that spills into the fence line and then over time it applies pressure to the fence line and this is what we ended up with. So that's an existing condition. Actually, you could replace all this fence line and eventually the same thing would happen.
Or you cut the slats off the bottom and allow whatever's going through it to go through the bottom of it.
And then, we've got some notes about, some painting of items in the rear of the building and rain gutter replacements and maintenance items. The community center, We've got some good photos here with similar condition. Again, all of these buildings, at least the exterior, were all redone at the same time. So they're in sort of similar shape where you've got, some, pressure washing painting needs on the community center. The south exposure on all the buildings is worn, just as you'd expect. This is not so much a safety thing, but more aesthetic. You've got, handrails and stuff that are just worn over time.
With that building, obviously, we gotta do the repairs, but I mean, are there any ideas or thoughts what we could do to increase its usage and then based on that, then remodel it based on that, so that way it gets used, right? I mean, you hate for it just to be sitting, I don't think it gets used that much.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't done much on that end, to be fair, like reimagine its use.
Yeah.
It's historically sat there as an available space, like a community center, for rental. And, folks, it was pretty heavily used pre-COVID and then
COVID was a
COVID
game
kind of
changer.
annihilated things. Yeah,
It's a
so.
game changer. I think the other thing that's interesting is like, okay, the building was built 25 years ago.
Right.
And the needs of the community
Has
or have changed, and more so, the private industries are serving those needs in a different way. So 25 years ago, how many wineries had event space?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
now, when you picture if you wanna have an event with 50 people, where do you want it to be?
Yeah.
In the Templeton area, and now,
It's not gonna be there.
there's a whole lot of places to go,
But I
right?
can tell you right now that at Paso Robles, there's a lot of conference space that's gonna be built over the next handful. Just so you know, I'm on the Paso Robles Planning Commission. So, but anyway, there's gonna be more. So to that point is there a way to repurpose the space to make it a utilized space or lower the rate or advertise it in a way? And I don't know what the answer is, cause I'm not sure what you could use the space for.
One time we talked about maybe people wanting like private offices where they could come and I've seen
A
it.
collaborative workspace, that'd be kind of a cool, like not like just a
Yeah.
workspace to rent
Yeah.
or whatever.
And people who said, I've seen it, at the ABC church upstairs, they have people, they have the space set up. Because we're having problems with Legion Hall is having problem too, it's not getting rented, so I mean, it's not just.
It's
you know,
just I think the concept of a room that holds 50 or 75 people to have dinner in or have a party in. Those needs are happening, they're just happening in other places around the
Because
community.
as you said, there are other options, so I mean, I think it would be something nice to, and then do the repair or remodel, whatever we need to make the building work for us. I mean, I just feel like it's just sitting there and, becoming you don't wanna become a.
I don't know that it'll ever be used for what it was used for previously, so I think, a plan of action to change the use is probably gonna be the best use of that.
Yeah, just keep in mind, it wasn't built or developed by the TCSD, it was designed and built by the Templeton Charitable Women's Club, and there was an arrangement made between the Women's Club and Templeton CSD whereby they donated it to the CSD and then they have a perpetual right to use it at no cost.
Yeah, so we have.
So
We have some
we have
things,
some limitations on.
Understood,
fundamental
okay,
changes.
well, that changes the game.
that doesn't mean that that all bets are off, it just means that they expect to be able to use it in the way they wish to, when they wish to in perpetuity. Doesn't mean you couldn't change that arrangement, or there still couldn't be other uses and still accommodate them.
Yes, I think we do need to look at it and we do need to talk with them because we have to explain to them the usage has changed. It's not getting used, for the community is not using it that much, so maybe they're willing to look at other ideas.
We
as
do
well.
have, we do have some regular users in there, we've got, a children's, music
Yeah, the little.
program, that's in there, we have a couple churches that are in there weekly. So we have some regular users, the uses that used to go there that don't anymore are the weddings and funerals and social activities.
Baby showers.
Yeah, those things I think are still happening, they're happening in someone's backyard or at a winery or someplace that's probably maybe more scenic or more modern.
Okay.
So what's the action item on us? Because I agree, you need to tune these things up. Obviously, there's bigger conversations about, are you gonna tune something up if you need to spend some money to make it a different use or how you do it, but, I think you do absolutely need to do that. So from us, what do you want at this time? Like, what our priorities would be, or just I mean,
Yeah,
I
it's
agree.
input so that we can develop a priority list, and a budget level estimate for deferred maintenance items on these, at these facilities.
And then
And then develop those costs so they can move forward into the budget process.
Yeah.
And then some of this we could also discuss with TRF, right? Because I know they were looking for projects and things like that they're interested in doing. So I know that last conversation we had, so for example, what I'm looking at, like paint snack bar, I mean, I
Absolutely.
think that would be something that TRF may be interested
What's
in.
TRF?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, it's the Templeton Recreation Foundation, they do fundraising and they, they donate a lot of money to Temple, to recreation department, so.
Yeah.
But they're looking for projects and, and
Just, does the high school have some sort of, CTE programs where they need to paint stuff or put them to work, Personally, the insides are would be a priority. I don't think the outsides they're not amazing, but they're not, the doors on the outside, but aside from that, I think just.
just the fascia, the.
Yeah, the fascia, the trim around the doors, the
Yeah.
fascia, and then that, but the entire exterior, I don't think,
I
the
think
handrail,
pressure
that's a
wash
pretty
is,
easy item to
Yeah.
take care of, to be honest. I go to Kennedy and Paso and they have a piece of cardboard there, and I think they've been painting one post a day, cause I see the cardboard move every day. So it's, someone can go out there with it, it's kind of funny, it's like every single, anyway, for my input to you guys is, I hate going into restrooms like that are that funky, with from a paint perspective, so bathrooms to me would be a top priority.
This is the bathroom at Everest Park current
Yeah,
condition.
yeah, paint that thing up, maybe
Again.
do a
so
quick
this is-
sealer on the floor, because you power wash the floor and their sealers are pretty cheap, you can get like a gallon at Home Depot and it gives it a nice seal to it, and just give it a once over, that would be my top priority. The vinyl baseboard, that stuff's pretty cheap, and honestly, anyone in here could install it, you just scrape off the old glue and you put glue on and you put it up, it's pretty easy. The TRF could do it pretty easily, so taking care of that, I don't know what the inside of the rooms look like, but that would be mine, start outside and then, or start inside and work your way out, that would be my opinion.
Yeah, here's a German park, similar condition, different construction, these actually, this is all wood here, so.
Yeah, when you get that thing a spray, it'd be actually pretty nice in there, give it a freshen up. Little power wash, and if you really wanna get fancy, maybe just replace some fixture or two, but.
Yeah, do you feel like Justin, you have some information to
Yeah,
move forward?
yeah, I've been making notes, taking your comments down, and absolutely, in fact, we were, taking the pressure washer over to the restrooms. And it, just in making this inventory, this assessment, going through in some of our facilities, taking photos, things spoke to us as we were taking inventory and, the status of some of these facilities. So we were going out there and, what we can do, with our staff in repairing or freshening up, we're capable, and we'll be making it more of a priority, absolutely.
I would support packaging something up that we could get a contractor to come in. We really don't have the staff ability to do that. I would just recommend putting together some kind of a bid package, get a contractor out and get it done quickly. It's gonna take us for a long time, and not that you can't do it, but that would be my recommendation.
It would be very difficult to try and match what we were successful 10 years ago, today. And to be able to freshen up all these
Yeah,
facilities,
it's not gonna
exteriors.
be-
I agree with that. As far as I don't know your guys' staffing
Yeah, I
perspective,
think
so.
we should get a list of projects.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just do it like this. You just take a ton of photos and you point at things with Adobe and you go, this is what we want here, this is what we want here. And, if you do, maybe you get in and say, here's one package, this is what we want, but if it's too much, we're gonna break it up. But if you do it all at once, maybe they cut you a deal or whatever it is.
And then, like at not Everest Park, at Bethel Park, the playground, structure, is that okay? I didn't see any pictures. so.
Oh, that was something we reviewed with the committee maybe a year ago.
About a year or two ago,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, when you say it's okay, yes, it's okay. It is showing its age. We do have, I could pull up those photographs. We have,
Yeah, I remember
areas of
that.
peeling paint, peeling coatings and stuff. that is not something that's really serviceable, it's going to need to be replaced.
It will be.
So,
I'm gonna say maybe within the next 5
5
years,
years or
it's
so.
not a next year probably,
so put that on the list.
but it's.
So we could prioritize.
I think that's on our asset replacement list
Okay.
as well, so that'll be.
Yeah, we should put it on there, yeah. I mean, it makes a difference. I mean, just the fact, you guys put up a new sign right in the Bethel Park and new fence, I mean, it just, it creates a different feel when you drive up to it. So I mean, things were just like, the old sign, it was just bad anyways. I mean, it was falling apart. So I think we just gotta make sure that we freshen up our facilities and give it,
Is it
keep up with it.
the Tom German
Yeah,
Park,
Yeah, that's better.
formerly Bethel? Okay,
yeah.
so it's the name's changed. All right. But everyone still calls it Bethel, is that correct?
And I actually.
Tom German for
Tom
20
German
years.
for 20 years.
Oh.
Yeah. Some of us have been here longer.
Right, just the other day.
Okay.
So at Evers, in the women's restroom, the stall height is really high. It's, everybody
Yeah,
complains.
that's one that you added on just today.
Lower those a little.
Any other?
Yeah.
Or even
on
just
that?
put a little.
No, not on the main.
So you
not
guys-
on the- But we do
okay.
have, we're gonna cover some park issues right here.
So you have, so do we move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep,
Okay.
whenever you're ready.
Okay, so next item is parks operations and maintenance update. Oh, there we go.
Is that graffiti on that thing?
These are.
Oh, they're good. Oh, hey.
Your photos.
Wow.
Yo.
Whoops.
That's
See,
the first thing you did, you put a
already-
mouse and you know.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, that was great segue there because we were, unfortunately, earlier this year, we had another vehicle drive through, German Park. Down Las Tablas, somebody under the influence, driving through and, they
This is,
drove.
by the way, this is not the place to hang out late at night.
This is like the third in 3 years. I think.
It's, yeah,
And
Yeah.
incredibly, the vehicle launched over the curb and gutter there and managed to just miss the sign. And through the lawn there and then ended up stopping in the rear just to the west. And knocked over the vinyl fencing of our neighbor's property and damaged our chain link, in the back there along, kind of close to where the playground equipment we were just talking
They have
about.
insurance.
They did,
That's good.
and
Jeez Louise.
And so, kind of coincidental, the sign ended up failing shortly after that. And to your point, needed replacement. This is, something we ended up just installing, earlier today, so we've got some
Haven't seen it yet.
fencing.
Well done.
Looks very nice.
Wow, nice.
There's a multitude of things that we've been up to since our last committee meeting. Last we met, we were just coming off of prepping fields for softball.
Yes.
And we had received our tractor, the parks tractor. We so appreciate the support. We were able to do, get out there and make the ball fields better to improve them. Unfortunately, I did not take a lot of photos since then of that tractor in action, but we're gonna talk through that anyways. You're gonna see a picture of the equipment and the aerator, because we're gonna talk about aerating.
Yeah, did you guys do the gopher thing too?
We did, we've got those photos. We're gonna go down this road, Eric. I'm
Okay.
so excited to share some of what we've been up to in parks recently. This is just informational, just spreading the works of our folks. As often, we're bad at promoting ourselves and talking about our folks and documenting what we've been up to. So this is an attempt at trying to capture some of that work.
Take us on a journey.
So-
I couldn't be more excited.
So here we are with, since that accident, now we've got that repaired, the fencing's been repaired, and we've got a sign back up at the Tom German Park. We have had issues ongoing with, gophers. We have had issues noted over time. We've been bringing this continually to you, talking about the issues and challenges with gophers and the harm it puts our young folks, our users, our park users, So we're trying to combat this in a multitude of different ways, right? One is through trapping.
Yeah.
And so we're continuing to trap, use gopher hawks and those sorts of things. There's other sorts of, traps that we're
The
using.
canola oil system, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, castor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are using this, it is installed at German Park. This is the container of the product here, and it goes through and it injects through this kind of master valve. This is the master line feeding the irrigation systems. That product has been in use now for about 2.5 months. And we met just recently, just this morning even, in fact, with the rep. And we're looking at adding another additive that abates insects and squirrels as well. But we're continuing to adjust this system. This is brand new equipment. This is a brand new product. And so we're continuing to adjust it as it's online now with the tanks that we have, with the injection system that we have, our sprinkler system, and continuing to adjust. And we then took the rep over to Evers this morning. We found a number of challenges. Evers has a number of things over time has taken place, been built on top of each other. We have signal wires going all over the place, lighting wires going all over the place, plumbing. It's really a nest of different types of utilities, all where our backflow is, where you would normally install this Easy Flow Critter Max system. And so we came up just this morning with a way to work around our issue underground. And so they're going to be sending us a quote for a spool, a 12-inch spool that has an injector port directly tied into this, a section flange,
Okay.
bolt-on flange spool. And so then, instead of having to go underground, we're gonna be able to adapt what's above ground at the backflow and be able to get this injection system up and running for Evers as well.
Have you noticed an improvement at the other park?
The staff have, but this, how we're injecting it has, the rep gave us some advice as to making it last longer and slowing down the venturi that takes place off of this valve and the way that it's cracked right there. So that possibly we're injecting it at a faster rate than we need to, and then it is dissipating. So a slower dose. We're continuing to work with our reps to hone in on the proper way to administer the product to get the results that we're after. And we're doing this on a
But
You
it's
know,
improved.
it has, the staff have told me that it is having an effect, but we need to continue, we need to continue. We just started this. Yeah.
When did this get installed? It's like, how long has it been operating? A couple months?
Yeah.
Did you do like when you did it, just out of curiosity, did you do like a spray, like to start with? Like you just hosed it down to get an initial spray and then you start injecting it? Is that kind of the process with them? Or was it you just started injecting it and let it work its way into it?
The later.
The latter?
Yeah, we did test, we did that pilot study, so to speak, that we were talking about
Oh, yeah, yeah.
once upon a time. And so we did these manual applications over a period of time and they worked. And we've had nothing but, again, positive feedback from all the users in our county that we were given. Even our local school district here uses this system, this Easy Flow. It's not just a means of applicating pest deterrent of some kind. It also works for fertilizing. There's a number of things, surfactants, so that you can reduce your water usage over time. So this gives way to a number of different things that are gonna help us out in the long run.
And then we were talking earlier with that project, Evers Park, you're gonna be redoing the irrigation and stuff down the road, right? Like you're gonna be,
Well, and you say, it's a dream to redo the irrigation, but there's not a. budget.
Okay, well, and my point to that is if you're gonna go and tear that whole thing up, maybe that makes sense to throw some wire in and like actually protect it like underground, you know? Like if you're gonna rip it all up, that's the best ideal way, you know, just if you are gonna do that, I would maybe hold off on it, but at the same point, if it's working, that's great. I, to be honest, I was fairly skeptical just because it's like kind of like, you know, maybe it's too good to be true, but it sounds like it's made an improvement. That's already worth the effort to date, right? So.
I think all the gophers repelled, they came over to my house.
They had to go somewhere.
I'm killing gophers.
I told you, you don't wanna be a gopher for Halloween?
Oh,
Great.
okay, next stop, where are we gonna end up here?
On the journey. Oh, Justin.
So, you know, some of the safety concerns that we have around the parks, the facilities as well, just trying to identify those and bring in different materials. It may be that just temporarily, we have brought in some cold mix patch here and kind of brought in some DG just to help out with that slope for tripping or something along those lines. I mean, even over to the right here, there was a exposed receptacle off of this lighting pole here. So then that has, you know, an exterior that has it's got
Convenience
cover.
outlet.
Yep, yeah. And so,
Or was it just the handle cover?
yeah.
That was an actual outlet.
Okay.
Yeah. So, right. And so we're continuing just to identify those things. Staff are continuing. This is things like this, still maintaining, getting out there and mowing, getting out there and marking fields for, our youth sports programs.
Busy time of year for marketing.
You know, some of the routine week to week stuff, absolutely, auditing our irrigation, make sure we have coverage and our sprinkler systems are operating appropriately. And so where we have those moments, getting our pressure washer, as just a moment ago talking about in our bathrooms, these are things that we have in our list to be able to get into and to take care of some of these items. Safety is one of those things that we're absolutely. There was some fencing issues. This is out by the north end of Evers Park, the infiltration basin at the end there, so people getting in, wanting to get in, get access to ride their BMXs or whatever the case. So we've sealed, as we find those, we seal those back up. You know, I don't necessarily know that we have any a large fencing project in the near future or getting quotes along those lines, but there are, you know, ongoing fencing, fixing come along.
Is there lighting in these areas? Cause like, at the end of the day, you can fix it, keep fixing it, they're just gonna keep doing, unless there's some sort of stopping or repercussions or something.
Well,
like
the
that.
park gets closed at night.
Yeah, but, yeah, it is. You need one of those deer sprinklers, you know?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the pictures of those temporary fixes for you guys, but that has been, those have been sealed back off. And here we go with some signage.
That happened while I was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is at the skate park. And these are just some of the do's and don'ts for using the skate park. And then we just got
Oh, nice.
that up. And you know,
2 days ago, it's looking good.
yeah, we'll,
See how long it lasts.
yeah, right,
No stickers on it yet.
yeah,
Yeah, that'll happen quick.
that'll happen quick.
Skaters like stickers.
You know, this is just a general, these are bad. I'm sorry. I apologize again. I have done a bad job of capturing all the good works of our staff in the last 6 months, but that's, you know, a picture of German Park Field. This is Evers in the back. You can see these, the goals, soccer goals, and
Oh, those are the new ones we purchased.
The ones on the field closest, so there, yeah, those are the new ones. There's another new set at the middle school.
Okay.
So the there were 2 fields worth, 4 total goals, 2 are here, 2 are at the nose.
This is the parks, our brand new parks.
Nice.
Tractor, and we've been getting a lot of use out of it. This is a photo of the aerator, and so I wanna make sure you understand, we got the budget, we got the equipment. In the beginning of June, before flag football, we went out and we aerated, for the first time in probably some years, since a while. So we aerated, German, and then went over to, Evers the following day and aerated Evers. We did that again in the beginning of soccer, season, so we were able to get back out there in the beginning of August
Nice.
and do that again. We will take that back out. We'll go back out at, the end of soccer season, at the end of November, along those
Ideally.
And then you notice the difference now with that, like more, the water is going in.
it has to help. It has to help open up.
Yeah.
The soils out there, they're largely clay,
Yeah.
and so it's gonna be an improvement over time.
It's a long term.
Plus it's fun.
Plus, I've been I haven't shared the tractor with anybody so far, but
Iron grip this one.
maybe I'll do some training here coming up soon, but, in probably in March, some period when softball kicks off, we'll be doing, not only aeration, but doing an overseeding project. We're looking for support with that too. That's about $6,000 worth of seed to be able to do both parks. And so, looking for support, there. There's also with a clopping hardy,
Hardy clopping, yeah.
there's been some interest. There's absolutely interest on our part. It's a verticutter by type of equipment. It is a park field renovator. It is specific to dealing with gophers and uneven surfaces in fields, specific sports fields. And so without having to spend the high capital costs,
Yeah.
but it does make a difference over time.
Yeah, it helps with leveling and, all of
Yeah.
that, which is hugely important.
So if you're using it in combination with an aerator and doing your overseeding, there's a short window where the field, the field's, it takes a couple weeks for the field to kind of recoup,
Sure.
but there's really no downtime. Those folks could still play softball, no problem. We'll have to work out things with like the softball fencing and those sorts of things.
So they don't use
If we go a
You know-
season without fencing in an effort to do
Right.
this or put it in.
I'll
lane,
level it,
that's easy.
yeah.
I'm sure they wouldn't mind less grass with a smooth field,
Yeah.
That to me would be a.
Yeah, and I would, vote that we do some kind of a period of time where we can shut our fields down for what they can't improve unless you give them some time.
I would agree.
So, I mean, a window where you recover.
Yeah,
Maybe right
there's
before
rest.
Christmas, something like that, like.
Actually, there's an ideal period of time when the grass isn't growing in the middle of winter, but yeah, with some window in there where we can.
If we were using that hardy clopping hardy in March and aerating in March and overseeding in March, that would be fantastic. If it is not too wet where we can get the piece of equipment out onto the fields, then that would be ideal, that March through early April. And that seed really will take,
So we
Take
need
root.
to amend the budget then for that, right?
well, the hardy clopper, it's a $21,000 attachment.
That was gonna go in the next budget rounds.
But I thought you wanted to do it in March though.
The overseeding project, when we come back, I think that's what he was
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
referencing.
These are all kind
And-
of
and
long
they-
range
they're-
plans.
Do you keep your finger on the pulse if a used one pops up, or is you just gotta buy it new? Is that kind of one of those deals? Cause it might be worth, if you get one for half that price, it might be worth the exercise, but you'd have to be Johnny on the spot with the dollar.
Yeah, you have to have the approval to buy it.
So just
Our structure makes that kind of thing a little
Yeah.
tricky. We'd have to have it approved the budget and just waiting for that opportunity to come up.
Yeah,
We have in the meantime and over the
rent 'em
years, we've been asking our neighbors here to share, we could share the piece of equipment. And sometimes that's worked out and sometimes it hasn't, because it's also the time that they would like to use it. So
Can you rent one, as you mentioned?
I haven't been able to find one from a rental unfortunately, everything that I really, I'd love to get around here because we're not maybe a larger metropolis. We're a smaller, more rural area.
Yeah, and that's
And
pretty
that's special.
specialty
It is
type
very
equipment.
Special,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I think that was it for,
Wonderful.
Cool.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mel. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
being,
Thank you guys.
working.
Thanks for your support.
Really good work, yeah.
Keep up the good job. Great, thank you.
I do have a recommendation. Great job, Justin. I think it was a good idea not to have a career of you being a photographer. But
Noted,
good job. Thank you.
noted, thank you.
That was bad. Program updates. Supervisor Johnson will update the committee on current and upcoming sports events and activities.
Yeah, well, thank you for cleaning up the park so that I can send a bunch of kids out there to do what kids do.
Yeah.
So we're coming up on week 4 of soccer games right now, which is usually, a nice little turning point for the season when, folks get a little grumpier about things. So, that's exciting. That, we started that, September 7th, and it's going through November 2nd and November 9th, depending on your division. So soccer is screaming away. We're at about 780, I think, almost 800 kids or so. Basketball registration starts on Tuesday, so that'll be very exciting. We modified the season for that a little bit to start a little later than we have we moved it by 1 week. So the kids are back in school for a week after winter break before we start our games. And historically, last several years, we've been starting the week before, or the Saturday before they go back to school. So this will be a welcome adjustment. And it's important because that'll shift when we start softball season as well, so. We had on this past Saturday, we had the community cleanup, kind of a small crew, about 15 volunteers. Thank you, Waste Management, for bringing out the roll off over there at the skate park so we could put 550 pounds of trash into it. 15 volunteers, 550 pounds of trash. Insane. So we picked up all kinds of things. There were small bikes that were found near the creek off of Florence. There was some old office chairs, none of these unfortunately. But old office chairs that we found that were just thrashed and left goodness knows where. There was a lot, the bulk of it unfortunately came from down by the high school. Past the high school, past sort of the football field down there, but where there's a lot of construction work happening, where the old dirt man sort of used to be. So a lot came from over there. I think one woman along Florence Street picked up 450 something cigarette butts alone. So, very exciting. The community cleanup was completed and it was a raging success. So, took some time. I had to drive a few places to go pick up all the trash, that was left around. So it was very exciting. Beyond that, we are coming up on basically the winter season, which is typically when we rest fields, right? So we see a lot less use in December. We have, I think, 4 or 5 soccer teams that practice just for all-stars, November, December. Come January, they're about mid-January, they finish up and we do rest those fields January, February typically, and then softball starts. So softball tends to be a lot less of an impact on the fields. There's obviously still an impact, but it's nothing like what happens at Evers on a soccer Saturday. I don't know if you've tried to drive through that area of town on a soccer Saturday, but we build 6 fields at Evers. And so we've got from 8 AM to noon specifically, it's just absolute chaos over there. So good idea to bring a golf cart. So yeah, so that's a bit of what's happening coming up on the winter season here as we round out the fall and prepare for basketball.
And concerts in the park was a success.
Concerts was a good time this year. We got so we did bring new bands in, a couple of which we paid extra for. We got special sponsors to pay above and beyond what we pay. We have a standard rate that we pay the bands. And we had a huge turnout for those bands specifically, but for some of the newer bands that pay for what we play for what we pay. It was a really good year for concerts. So
It was nice community.
both community turnout and
Yeah.
financially.
And we got the weather is like.
The weather
weather's makes
cooperated
a difference,
and-
and some years you have very cold or very hot, and this year was very
Yeah.
ideal.
The
Yes.
previous season, I think it was cold one day a week and it was always a Wednesday, right? It was,
That's true, it was nice.
or that one time it was really hot and it was, 100 degrees and 90% humidity that day for some reason. So it was, yeah, unbearable, but concerts this year was a big success.
Well, thank you for all you do. Any questions on the programs? Okay, well, thank you, appreciate that. Waste management, fall cleanup, is that, you cover that, you think?
Yeah, I just got the flyer, so I'm putting some waste management items on,
Saturday, November 16th.
Yeah.
Similar program to what you
We'll get
did
more, yeah, no, that's
in the
great.
past,
Okay.
so we'll make sure. Got your address, we'll make sure everything's dialed in, just got any questions, let us know. Inserts are going out with the billing. Jessica will give more update on the next meeting as far as what else coming up, but yeah.
So, yeah, so this is.
Still a couple months away, but
It's an all-day event.
Okay,
we
it's
just run a
actually-
couple side load trucks and pick up, basically it's like an extra pickup on your green
Oh.
cart, right? So if you got extras, or they'll pick up bulk bundles up to 40 pounds.
Okay, so it's like a cool
Yeah.
service you guys provide.
Yeah, just an extra, it's almost like an extra pickup that week, so for your organics waste.
Sweet.
That's awesome.
Is this the one that the week before we have the garage sale?
No, that's the spring cleanup.
It's the spring cleanup.
This is green waste exclusively, but essentially any residential customer can have extra green waste collected.
Well, thank you, that's a great service. We
Yeah,
appreciate
I'm still hung up on your volunteer 450 cigarette butts.
Yeah.
Would spend the time counting that.
I was actually shocked she
Same
did.
thing.
Yeah, she does a lot of cleanup, along, she's got a private road, so she does a lot of cleanup there, and I think it's just
That's a
something that
little
passes the
OCD right
time.
there going on, I'm thinking,
Yeah.
right?
But she was a unique individual, we'll put it there.
That's cool though, but yeah, I was just like, wow, 450 cigarette butts. That's a
454,
lot.
right?
Yeah, it was, she had the specific number, so.
Great. So next is, that's it, right, Jeff?
That's for that item, yeah.
Okay, so next item is solid waste franchise agreement, negotiating at end of the term.
So I put this item on here, it's not not the time to talk about this necessarily, but the board members anyway, or one of the board members anyway, will recall that earlier this year in January, the district triggered our, sort of non-renewal of the franchise agreement, which meant, yeah, so it was sort of a non-renewal 10 years later.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
in June of 2034, our contract, our existing franchise agreement will expire at this point. It will not continue to extend. And it was, so, that's a long time away, 9.75 years. And if nothing happens over the next 6 or 7 years, there'll be some work for folks to do to figure out what to do next. An interesting article, someone had sent me this article that had come about just to see, so I just thought, I want to share it with the committee. Talking about, when you're facing the end of the term, what are your options? Obviously you have the option of going out to RFP or to get proposals from competitors and weigh those and make a selection based on what's proposed, and then enter into a new franchise agreement. And of course, that would not be something that was done for another, let's say, 9 years-ish. But you also have the option of negotiating with your current franchise holder. And this article just talks about the pros and cons of each. And so I just provided it, so you have that.
Can you forward that to us?
Yeah, it's actually, it's
Already.
it's in the, it's
a link in
it's a link in the staff report.
The other board members, with other board members?
Again, just the committee members. I mean, I can provide it to all the board members.
Yeah, that's what.
It seems like it's like not, I put it on this agenda because this was your next meeting, but
Okay.
it's not something that you're faced with, although I suppose if Waste Management were to approach us sooner and say, we wanna negotiate some sort of new terms or a new agreement, then this is the kind of thing you wanna have in mind. Is this something you wanna do, or do you wanna see it end and see what's out there?
I would love to see just more information about what are options. And we just, every year, we do the same thing over and over. what is happening in the waste management arena? And are there different ways we can skin the cat? I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I love the question, just for us to.
So we have
read-
Peter here.
Yeah. Just to.
I worked in LA when the city of Los Angeles franchised the city services there. And read the article and then let me know. I'll be happy to share with you our perspective.
I don't know what I don't know.
I've been working for this company 38 years. I have to tell you, that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do was implement that franchise and redo all that. Yeah, I was very happy to move up here 3 years ago.
Well, and it seems to me that if they're doing well over the next 10 years, that it would behoove the city and Waste Management to enter into an agreement that's maybe every 2 years or 3 years, something like that, instead of like this 10-year kind of thing, whoever negotiated that originally.
Typically, they do that amount of time because they have to recoup their costs.
Yeah.
It's a long, if you're gonna get a piece of equipment that has $1 million,
Sure.
it's gonna take a long time to cover. So yeah, I think that would be an interesting read.
Yeah, it is, it's interesting, so this is not the time to necessarily tackle the topic, but it was a current article I wanted to forward with you, and just again, remind you that over time, we're not gonna be able to wait 9.75 years to decide what we're gonna do, because come July 1st, 2034, you don't have garbage collection in Templeton, so it has to be tackled, before that. Waste Management has expressed some interest in, looking at various aspects of the agreement, and what might work for them. Just keep in mind, they've only been here less than a year.
Yeah.
So we're,
Yeah.
they inherited this franchise or purchased this franchise, from its prior owner. And so, I think over time, there'll be opportunities and maybe, proposals from Waste Management for your consideration. But something will have to be done before 9.5 years or so.
It probably would behoove us to start tracking some things. So that, a few years down the road, we got this out and ahead of it. And so we don't just lose sight of that.
No, we absolutely, this will be something that we don't want to put anyone in a situation where they have to panic to make a decision, or get pushed up against the wall. But 9 years, 9.75 years are gonna go faster than we.
I can assure you, our company won't allow you that to happen. We'll be in front
Yeah,
of
if
you.
you get into a situation where you're panicking about this, like someone massively fell asleep.
Yeah, yes. Great.
So, and the industry is evolving, I think, what's happened is there are fewer players than have existed previously. And so over the next 10 years, if that holds true, there'll be fewer, there will even be fewer.
Sure.
All right. And, I just, in terms of your services so far, I think you guys are doing a great job with service in terms of picking up and things like that, but, so that's going great. I think you're picking up the garbages, everything.
Stop right there. I don't need to hear a but.
How about and? Try to improve the administrative part that's becoming challenging, where I hear a lot of complaints about that.
Yeah.
In terms of billings and calling in and things like that, those are the issues, and I think if we solve those problems,
Well, I think Peter here might play a role with that, with all those, what really hurt us, the biggest piece was the changing of the IWMA fees and how that's structured and everything, but I think now that's all smoothed out. And I think we're
that hurt
pretty
a lot of people.
consistent now.
I didn't have a single issue with my billing, so I mean, maybe it was case by case.
Get on auto pay and you'll be fine.
That's
that was actually one thing, is like with auto pay, I guess you change your systems and then people have to
Resign.
Oh, you had to
auto pay.
re-sign, you had to
Yeah.
re-sign.
Unfortunately, I mean, it would be,
I'm the only person here that's lowering his fees.
there you go.
No.
That's right. That's right, he did.
No, I do need a new blue can. I think last time someone called me when I brought it up last time, they're like, oh, we'll come replace it, and I'm still waiting for it to get replaced. I just like giving you a hard time. No, I can call and do
No, I get it.
It's
Not a
just kind of
problem.
tough, right? No, I'm giving you a hard time, you know?
Not a problem.
All right, is that it?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you again for coming and doing a great job. Appreciate it. Next item is solid waste landfill diversion rates and goals.
Yeah, so, just a little bit of background on this.
And we have,
Go to your, give me
Where's
your.
where's my?
Go to that one. There you go.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
That's-
So, just to provide, we get, I get reports, from Waste Management about, the amount of garbage, the amount of, solid waste that's generated and where it goes from Waste Management. And of course, the same information gets funneled to IWMA and is ultimately reported to the state from our larger jurisdiction countywide. And I was just reviewing kind of, I'm gonna blow this up so you can kind of see it better. Kind of how we were doing. And keep in mind, we've made a number of changes over the last couple of years in terms of mandatory organics recycling for almost all customers, including commercial customers, most of which didn't utilize that kind of service in the past. And so this is 2024 through July, I think. And the report that we get from Waste Management is broken down to commercial. So this is gonna be dumpster service, bin service, generally. And one of my first questions was, okay, we got all these customers on organics now, but the report that we get doesn't show that there's a diversion of commercial service to organics. And I think I got some clarification from Waste Management, from Stacy, that those are likely because most customers are using a residential style container, a cart, a green cart for this service, and are being picked up by a residential route, even though they're a commercial customer. And so those organics, when they're being picked up, are probably showing up in these categories, even though again, they're not a residential customer. So, okay, that made sense. And then I just looked in general about, okay, what are we doing for diversion? And look, we're nice and steady, over 50% diversion for residential customers generally. And again, that's broken down to, a tonnage that goes to landfill, tonnage that is mixed recyclables, and the tonnage that's organic or green waste. And then there's, there's other services that Waste Management provides, like roll-off services or stuff that gets hauled to their facility that are categorized here, like construction and demolition. And then we look at the overall diversion rate. And I just, man, it was, under 40-ish, let's just call it 40% roughly for the year. And I started comparing that to some of the existing goals and the long-term goals that we as a state have, not that we as a Templeton CSD have put together, but the state has created these goals or these diversion goals for us. And said, man, are we gonna get to a spot where we're not meeting them? Because I can tell you right now, these numbers are nowhere near what the state of California expects us to divert from the landfill. So I asked Peter to help me understand how this really works and how we're doing compared to other jurisdictions within the county, because maybe we're gonna end up with a lot of work to do. And so then Peter sent me this sort of calculation that Cal Recycle uses and said he could explain it better. And so that's why he's here, because
I'll stand up because I've been sitting way too long. Started out in Yosemite. So when we talk about diversion, diversion was mandated by AB 939. It said that we had to divert 25% by the year 1995 and then 50% by the year 2000. That was based upon a generation study, which is a whole nother piece entirely. So first answer is it's extremely complicated. You're not measured by what your waste hauler collects. You're measured by the entire generation of the community as Templeton as a whole and as the IWMA as a whole. So when we look at what our generation is, we also take into account things like construction, demolition, recycling that never sees the scale of a location like this. For those of you who know Paul Viborg Sand and Gravel, You know, he was diverting about 30,000 to 40,000 tons of concrete and asphalt a year at his site. The people down in South County, oh wait, they'll stay up here. Volpe Isabel, it used to be Granite Construction. I think somebody, Poker Jack, somebody bought them. Anyway, they do about 50,000 tons a year. So those tons are there that are in the generation study, but don't show up on your hauler report because the hauler never sees it. There's also like the grocery stores that take cardboard and send it back. There's all the buyback centers that used to be here that managing materials. Every one of those projects takes place, every one of those projects is accounted for in the generation study. In 2005, we did a generation study that showed that this county generating 695,000 tons of material every year. Then we go back in and you look at the landfill disposal, and that's what we measure that against, that 695,000 tons of material. When I look at your numbers that you're showing from your hauler reports, I'm not concerned because they're typical, atypical up and down the area, because a lot of the diversion that takes place before they even see it. Anything that's scrap metal, anything that's taken out never sees the landfill, never sees the garbage can. I mean, because there's no money in throwing things away. It's cost. Could we be doing better? We can always be doing better. And that's why we employ the services of Science Discovery. They're an outreach team. They've got about 7 people that are on the ground all throughout the community, always out there looking at people's bins, trying to improve recycling, trying to continue to do this process. The challenge we face is that our system is skewed because we don't have the total cost of service to the costs. The garbage industry is messed up. I just had a conversation with Zoe Heller about this. Our system is built, designed to take materials, put them in a hole, cover them with dirt. We're working on that. That's a long needs assessment. We're gonna have to come up with our needs assessment. The rules committee, that rule that will be promulgated in, the next couple of weeks before it goes to, becomes law. And at that promulgation, we're gonna have 15 days to comment. They're not giving us a lot of room. So these are great things coming. And to your point, solid waste is complicated. Solid waste laws and rules and regulations are changing every day. The state of California has decided to sue Exxon Mobil for lying about plastic recycling. We'll see how that goes. That's just something that just 2 days ago.
I just saw that, yeah.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, a couple questions. Thank you. Appreciate you coming up, Peter.
Anytime.
So when you say the community is doing well, are you saying the community of Templeton's doing well? Are you considering this your whole?
I'll say, I said it as both, but the community of Templeton has always done pretty well. I mean, we've worked on different programs at the high school level. We worked on different programs throughout to try and make it something that's workable and something that's effective. Waste management does things in this community that they don't, because I'm a problem, that they don't do in other communities. But, they do a lot of good things out here. And so, yes, the community of Templeton is doing well, but could they do better? The answer is yes.
Yeah, my question specifically is, are those numbers for us or are those numbers for IWMA?
The big number, the numbers about the target, that's the IWMA.
Oh, IWMA.
Because we're JPA, we report as a single entity.
So Cal Recycle doesn't look at us individually from this point of view.
They don't look at you individually as for disposal and disposal reporting. They look at you individually as compliance with SB 1383, AB 1826, and AB 341. And you are in compliance on those as well.
And did you say that there was some additional information from the state that's gonna increase our impacts on solid waste?
Well, there's always, the state of California always has unfunded mandates, and they'll never change, and they'll always continue to go forward. But I think SB 54 is the one that's gonna affect single-use plastics, and that's probably the biggest one that's coming down the pipe right now. So if you take a look at single-use plastics, they will either have to be made of recycled content material, they will have to be recyclable in California, and they will, or they can't be sold.
And that's by year 27?
2027, yes. Yeah, you were at the solid waste summit. Very good, thank you, yeah. That was fun, wasn't it? We're gonna do it again.
No, it's very,
Yeah.
very informative.
You guys should all come and get an opportunity.
And then just probably not a concern of right now, but why do we keep getting charged for the dump every year? It keeps going up.
I mean, the landfill tipping fees?
Landfill tip. That is, I'm very surprised how much that's grown in the last couple of years.
Well, I don't understand, well, careful on this answer because where I'm coming from. I'd like to not see that always go up so much, but in the cost and the long-term liability of a landfill is something that's when we get done, take a look at Los Osos landfill. It's a facility that was closed in 1978, I believe. We're still paying, the county is still paying to monitor that site. That's why I say our waste system is broken, because our waste system is designed such that it's cheaper to throw it away than it is to manage the waste effectively. What we're looking at is not the long-term cost of that product that you threw in the dump. Because if everybody was still paying threw stuff away in 1977 into that dump in Los Osos, those people that generated it, that's what that cost should be, not what you're paying today.
Sure. The cost increase is causing other people to find another way to.
Correct.
They're either putting it in their trash, they're putting it in the creeks, they're putting it
Once
on the
again,
road, they're doing, but, so that's the challenge, cause that's what I see.
Mhm.
A guy driving right down the road, dumping tires or whatever he's got on the side of the road.
Illegal dumping is a huge issue. And we're actually, my board has directed me to address that. So I'll be bringing something, some concepts back to my board. And I'll probably be reaching out to a lot of other people to create a task force on what to do, how to deal with this. We get back to the same basic premise, is that the waste industry, the true cost of what you buy should include the cost of disposal. That it should be cradle to cradle, not to your house.
But to Peter's point, that's kind of what creates illegal dumping. So think about it. Tires didn't used to be a problem, but now you have to pay to dispose of tires, right? But again, we create our own problems, right? We try to do the right thing by putting additional fees so people will recycle these materials. But by doing those, putting those additional fees on there, people don't want to pay those additional fees and we'll find illegal
Other
ways.
ways.
Yeah, illegal ways to get rid of it.
Right, so this is longer term. So yeah, you'll be seeing a lot more of my ugly mug. Coming in and talking to me about some of these things. I really want to engage, the communities to try and come up with really solid solutions on how we can manage this.
I just saw water heater on the side of the road.
Yeah, it's like
Today,
yeah, I could talk for another 2 or 3 hours.
Now, see, water heaters are great. We can scrap those. Those are easy.
Those.
Get them at no charge over at our transfer station. Those we can scrap.
Alright, any other questions? Okay, alright, well, thank you for coming, Peter. I
Thank you, guys.
appreciate it.
So good.
And I think IWMA is doing a great job. I mean, I know there was a little turmoil for there, but I think things are under control and.
They're not gonna unretire me twice, 3 times.
There you go.
Thank you guys. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and the last item is future agenda items, any?
Yeah, I mean, this was really an opportunity if the committee has things they'd like to have brought forward, we can list them out and.
I guess it would be once you guys come up with the package in terms of the repairs that we need. And then so we could sit down, look at them and then present it to the board, that would be great. Agreed. Yeah, that would be one.
The only comment I have is a couple of my coworkers live here in town and the one comment he said, can you ask about sidewalks? And I obviously that's a broad thing, but he just, that's.
You can,
Yeah.
you can, we are responsible for sidewalks at our, it's a county, unfortunately, it's a county.
Yeah.
We don't have street sidewalk, powers at Templeton CSD, so
Okay,
it's.
perfect. I can tell him that.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's because I told him at a committee meeting, I was like, I had to leave work a little early. He's like, gotta ask about the sidewalks. I'll ask about the sidewalks. I
But
think
we're working on one at Evers Park.
that's great.
Yeah, I was thinking.
It's under our bridge.
He's gotta walk on the road to get there, but yeah.
And it's taken us 3 years.
No, there's sidewalks leading up to Everson.
In terms of future items, I don't see any additional items other than continuing with Evers. I think that it's been 5 years. I mean, not 5 years, 2 years. And pushing it forward as quickly as we can, I think is important. The board all unanimously said, let's move forward as quickly as possible. So to the extent that we can keep this on the agenda, our agenda, in any way we can help, even if we need to do some kind of political efforts to push the county or push whoever, I would be very much in favor of that. And then the other one was certainly the our maintenance facilities and getting that deferred maintenance of our of all of our facilities in better condition. So those are the items I would include.
Yeah. Alright, anything else that you guys wanna say anything on the agenda?
I'll do a better job of taking photos in the future.
If she's working, which is a long shot, Bree's excellent at photography, so we can help you out. Okay. Now, she's gotta be in town, but we can help you out.
Alright, guys, well, thank you everyone for coming, appreciate it.
Thank you.
My wife,